Yo, what's going on, everybody? I'm super excited to announce that my rookie roster for Madden 18 is good to go. It is uploaded as Real 2018 right now, just on Xbox, but hang in there, PlayStation owners. It is coming. The goal is by the end of this week. Huge shout out to Peanut, who is helping me so much with this roster. A lot of man hours between the two of us. I'm not sure we'd get this roster on PlayStation if it weren't for him. So the goal is the end of the week, this Sunday. I might get a raw file up some point in the middle of the week. Make sure you're following me on Twitter to get updates for that. So I wanted to make this video here and talk about what this roster is for those that are new, give a review for those of you that have been here before. So this is not just a rookie roster. This includes my ratings, realistic overhaul for Madden 18. It's going to give you a much more immersive, realistic, and challenging, frankly, experience for your franchise mode. So how do I do this? Let me explain. The biggest way is the ratings overall. There's a paradigm shift towards the negative for overall ratings. And the reason we do this is that so your true superstars actually differentiate themselves, not just on the field, but in the market as well, as they're asking for more money in your franchise modes. And what this does is it just makes building a team a challenge. In the original game, honestly, 2 years in, you can load up your team with mid 80s to 90 overalls and you lose interest. But with my roster, it's much more difficult to get to that level. It's hard to get individuals to superstars and it's difficult to build that dynasty. And then the other way we address this is the free agents pool, where in the original game, it's kind of a joke. I can't play with that vanilla roster anymore after what I've done with this new one. There is a bounty of mid 70s to 80 overall players sitting there in that free agents pool. You have an injury, you lose a player in free agency, who cares? Just whip out your checkbook, bring in the next free agent. You got your list of like a bunch of different starters. Look at real life. Look at the comparison between what happened to the Eagles and what happened to the Packers. The Eagles have a dynamic, deep roster. They won the Super Bowl. The Packers lost Aaron Rodgers. They didn't. Both those teams suffered injuries. If this were Madden, they could just hit the free agency pool. You could sign a 72 overall Luke McCown at your quarterback and just fill out the margins of your roster. Either way, you're fine. It really doesn't matter how good your roster is. You're going to have starting players regardless. On mine, none of that. That is fixed. And then there's a lot of little small marginal fixes, more in-depth stuff that I've talked about in other videos that I won't get into here. But, you know, stuff like Mike Evans has higher strength than Jadeveon Clowney, who's like 500 pounds heavier. That stuff is fixed. It's just stuff that, you know, EA needs to take a look at. The guys there should honestly be a little ashamed of some of these things on that roster. But all that stuff's fixed. So let's talk about the rookies here. That's what you guys are here for, right? Well, I'm excited to say we have over 200 rookies and growing as of right now. You know, last year we got through about the 5th round and then ran out of guys. And I'm still adding players here. There's a chance I'm going to be able to get all 7 rounds in this year, which would be huge. But I wanted to get this video out because the roster is very much usable right now. Xbox is in the middle of the 6th. More or less everyone is in there. And for those of you that are confused about why not the whole draft, well, Madden puts some very serious creative limitations on what I can do with this roster. So you get about 30 players or so that you can actually create. And those guys are perfect. They got the right age, everything. But after that point, how do you get to 200 rookies, right? Well, you got to overwrite existing rookies. So the biggest problem here is Madden doesn't let you edit height, weight, appearance, skin color, hair, age, contract, all this stuff. All you can do is change their name and school and their rating. So this makes it really difficult. I got to find players who are rookies, who fit the same more or less height, weight, skin color, and that just makes it more difficult, basically, and overwrite the player. I got to find players who aren't going to be on the team next year, more likely than not, guys that won't be missed. So it's a pretty big process to get these guys in. That's why I say I'm hoping to get as many as possible in here. But with all that said, I appreciate you guys that have reached out on social media and here on YouTube about little changes. You know, this guy's too old, this guy has dreadlocks. The thing is, there's nothing I can do about that. I'd rather create the player, have him in the game as more or less the right guy, and then you can edit this stuff in franchise mode. And I'm gonna add to this video in the description in about a week or so, I would think, a list of development changes that I would be making when I start my franchise modes, because I can't edit development traits. So while I appreciate you guys looking out for the roster, please, don't let me know that some player's too old or this guy has dreads. If you see a incorrect spelling or an incorrect school, definitely, I would love to fix that. I do occasionally make some errors. There's a lot of names and stuff here, but do hold off on that other stuff. So let's talk about the ratings, how these guys are graded. So I actually had my draft board filled out before the draft. I graded over 400 players. So more or less, all these guys, I had my rating set coming into the draft. You got plenty of PFF influence there, and then my own film analysis of these guys' college tape. So that said, you're going to see guys in the 6th round, John Kelly, Duke Ejiofor, a couple names who are rated a good bit higher than guys in the 3rd round. I'd be an idiot to not admit that I may have been a little off. In fact, Duke Ejiofor's rating came down a little bit when I did put him in here. But guys, the draft is not some linear spreadsheet. There's guys that go in the 5th, 6th round. They're going to be way better players than guys that go in the 1st, 2nd, 3rd round. And what EA is going to do when they make these rookies is they'll have their spreadsheet. They'll say, okay, this guy went 3rd round, so give him somewhere about 66, 67. This guy's 5th round, so he's like a 65. That's not the way the draft should work. There's guys in the 5th, 6th round that are really good players. This worked out for me last year. I got a ton of flack when I had Kareem Hunt and Kenny Golladay and Carl Lawson coming into the year, rated much higher than EA, proportionally at least, if you take my ratings overall into account. And they all had excellent seasons. So yeah, I'm gonna let my opinion shine in this roster. If you disagree with my opinion, that's fine. If you hate my opinion, you hate my roster, well, guess what? Free roster, you don't have to use it or just edit the rating yourself. That's the one thing I don't understand. But that said, I do want to hear from you guys. I do listen to people's opinions all the time. I'm willing to make changes and check out different game tape. I can't catch everything. But the one thing I do ask is if you're going to critique my ratings, please do not focus on that overall number. There is so much more that goes into these ratings. A guy like Jaire Alexander, yes, I have him rated lower than 2nd, even maybe a couple 3rd round corners, but he has great physical traits. He was drafted off of potential, in my opinion. You take him into franchise mode, this is one thing that franchise and Madden does correctly, is those awareness, play recognition, those traits are much less expensive, significantly, as a matter of fact, than speed, all those physical traits. By the middle of the 1st year, Jaire Alexander is going to be rated higher than Josh Jackson, who I have rated higher than him. So please look at the more individual things, don't focus on that overall. Some guys get drafted based on potential. Some guys get drafted based on their impact. That's the way it is. So I'm looking forward to you guys getting your hands on this roster. Before we do head out here, I just want to say, we're talking about over 500 man hours here for myself to put this out on Xbox and PlayStation. Obviously, at this point in my life, that's not a sustainable thing here. I can't say right now that I'm going to be able to keep making these rosters for you guys down the road unless it becomes more fiscally reasonable to do so. So if you have it in your heart to see this as a DLC, something that has you playing this game, having fun again, enjoying the roster, it would mean so much for me if you guys consider donating to my PayPal in the description below. Think of it as a $5, $10, $15 DLC. It would go such a long way. I have my Patreon as well if you want to become a monthly supporter, investor in the channel. A lot of cool benefits there, a lot of cool perks you'll get from that. That's really it. The biggest thing here, enjoy the roster, guys. Please enjoy the roster. I know I'm going to. I'm looking forward to doing some franchise playthroughs and stuff on this channel once I get a second to breathe. So enjoy. As always, cheers. People often ask me how to get more involved and support TFG directly. Well, now you can. Pledging just $1 on Patreon means more than you know towards bigger and better creations. Becoming a Patreon now hooks you up with access to my personal Discord network where you can slip right into my DMs. Get dibs on video priority to see your teams first, and tangible goods as well, like access to my personal NFL draft board grading every prospect you'll want to know about, and my tier-based fantasy rankings to help you beat your friends and take their money. And for the football junkies, you'll get my Vegas picks, where in 2017 we sniped the Eagles at 66-1 to win it all and went 2-1 picking underdogs. So that's patreon.com/thatfranchiseguy. Do it. Peace out.